You're listening to a Roddenberry podcast.
Today is Tuesday, May 25th, 2021, and this is your daily Star Trek news from the Roddenberry Podcast Network. On today's show, Star Trek Lower Decks showrunner Mike McMahan talks about wanting Wesley back for the series. Robert Picardo will be featured in bonus content for upcoming COVID-19 anthology film After Masks, and I've got this week's Trek trivia. I'm Alison Pitt, and today's show is sponsored by EveryPlate. Try EveryPlate for just $1.99 per meal, plus an additional 20% off your next 2 boxes by going to everyplate.com and entering the code DSTN199. Star Trek Lower Decks creator Mike McMahan wants to bring Wil Wheaton's character Wesley Crusher onto the series at some point, but only if it makes sense to do so. Speaking with Cinema Blend in an interview published last week, McMahan shared his thoughts on some of the challenges in bringing back the Crusher character. Now, bringing legacy characters back has been done before, and it will be done again. The first season saw several classic Trek characters making an appearance, and we're expecting more of the same in Season 2. For McMahan, the difficult part in bringing any legacy character onto Lower Decks is making sure that their story not only fits within Star Trek canon, but that it doesn't wildly change the arc of a character. McMahan told Cinema Blend, "You don't want to take a huge swing and affect stuff too much. You kind of like to dance in the margins. I talk about Lower Decks being kind of like the comic strips that were in the margins of Mad magazine. We're doing what we want, we're having our fun, it feels like a fit, but we're not taking away from anything else that you love about Star Trek." As far as bringing Wesley Crusher onto the series, McMahan said that he is still looking for an elegant way to make that happen. Part of this lies in the uncertainty of the character's future. After Crusher left the Enterprise D with the Traveler in TNG's final season, audiences only see Crusher once more, in the opening of Star Trek Nemesis, and nothing more is learned about the character and what became of him. That ambiguity may be McMahan's back door into bringing Wesley Crusher back. "I just love Wil Wheaton and I love that character, and I would love to find a way to not step on what exists with that character," McMahan said, calling the earlier Star Trek series the rule books for writing Lower Decks. McMahan added, "As we grow, we have to be even more careful than ever before to not change stuff or retcon stuff. You know, like Beverly Crusher falling in love with a candle. That's good for us. Figuring out Wes is still the thing I just need to wrap my head around and figure out how to do it right." The second season of Lower Decks is set to premiere in August, but you can catch up on the first season, available to stream now on Paramount+. Or you can also catch it on DVD, Blu-ray, or limited edition Blu-ray Steelbook from Amazon.com or wherever you get your Blu-rays. Star Trek Voyager's Robert Picardo has lent his talents to a film anthology that explores human resiliency and hope in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, as reported in a press release from the project's distributor, Vision Films. After Masks is described as an emotional and therapeutic collaboration triggered and inspired by the unprecedented reshaping of our society during the global pandemic. It features 5 stories, each tackling a different theme, which are woven together with narration by Saved by the Bell reboot star Mitchell Hughes. The film features familiar faces like Eric Roberts from The Dark Knight, T-Buzz Watkins from music group TLC, Krista Allen from Baywatch, and Michael Welch from Twilight. Picardo is featured in the 6th bonus story, exclusive to the film's DVD release. Although shot during stay-at-home orders, After Masks is more than recorded Zoom calls. Each story was professionally produced and filmed in locations across the country, such as Orlando, Denver, Tulsa, Los Angeles, and more. Co-executive producer Andrew Burrell notes, "I felt our social responsibility was only intensified when we became one of the few teams approved by SAG to produce content during one of the deadliest pandemics in our nation's recent history. We approached After Masks with the utmost respect and aim to create an authentic, living time capsule that reflects a multi-generational and diverse perspective of COVID-19. Vision Films CEO and Managing Director Lisa Romanoff adds, "As the world emerges from challenging times, this film reflects a myriad of experiences that we know audiences will find relatable as well as cathartic. After Masks features an extraordinary cast and exceptional filmmaking despite pandemic restrictions." After Masks was released to streaming services on May 18th, but fans who want to see the segment featuring Robert Picardo will need to wait just a bit longer for the DVD release on June 8th, as the short film featuring our beloved EMH, entitled Past Cure, is a bonus feature exclusive to the physical release. You can read more about After Masks and watch the film's trailer at visionfilms.net. I've got Trek Trivia Tuesday here in just a moment, but first, a word from our sponsor, EveryPlate. Okay, so I know that you know that EveryPlate is an affordable meal kit service. But did you know that not only is EveryPlate America's best value meal kit, it's also one of the best for giving you back more time with your family? Take their sriracha pork stir fry with cabbage, zesty rice, and peanuts. When I made it for my family, I was so impressed with how everything was neatly pre-portioned. Plus, the recipe card was easy enough to follow that I saved a ton of time making dinner, and I got to spend the extra time listening to my littlest tell me all about why she loves stir fry. Now, most of EveryPlate's meals come together in about 30 minutes, so you, like me, can find that extra time to spend with your family. And with the days getting longer and the weather getting warmer, that extra time sounds to me like time that you can spend getting outdoors in the fresh air. There's never been a better time to try EveryPlate. And as Daily Star Trek News listener, you could try EveryPlate for just $1.99 a meal, plus an additional 20% off your next 2 boxes. Just head to everyplate.com and enter the code DSTN199. That's everyplate.com and the promo code DSTN199. And a big thanks to EveryPlate for sponsoring today's show. And now it's Trek Trivia Tuesday. Did you know Joseph Mullendore composed and conducted the score for just one episode of Star Trek? Though portions of his music from the original series' Season 1 episode, The Conscience of the King, would be used in later episodes, it's in that episode that it originally appeared. Prior to his brief stint in Federation space, Mullendore had worked on other television series, including Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea and Lost in Space, when he was recommended for The Conscience of the King by Wilbur Hatch, then head of the Desilu music department. So now a trivia question for you. One of Mullendore's pieces was a new arrangement of a familiar piece of music by a different composer, and it can be heard in the background during the cocktail party scene where Captain Kirk meets Lenore Caridian. What is the name of the tune? And for a bonus point, who was the original composer? Find out on Friday's episode of Daily Star Trek News. Well, that's it for today's Daily Star Trek News from the Roddenberry Podcast Network. Don't forget to check out the other great shows on the network at podcasts.roddenberry.com. Daily Star Trek News is produced by me, Alison Pitt, and written by Chris Peterson and Jack Brown, with trivia by David Powell. Today's show is sponsored by EveryPlate. Try EveryPlate for just $1.99 per meal, plus an additional 20% off your next 2 boxes by going to everyplate.com and entering code DSTN199. I'm back tomorrow with more of the Star Trek news you need to know, and this week in Trek history. I'm Alison Pitt. Live long and prosper.
This is a Roddenberry podcast. For more great podcasts, visit podcast.roddenberry.com.